channel. So today's video, I thought we could just have like a little planner chat and basically just talk about what's really been working for me, and just talk about like where my head is and what I'm considering and all that good stuff. So there's no secret here. I definitely have found my niche in a bullet journal. I just think that it's just the most flexible for me anyway, because it allows me to be creative, but also it allows me to keep a lot of stuff in the same space. And not only that, the archival, purpose, or the archival situation is a lot easier in a book. And not only that, this allows me to change planners frequently. So I'm a little fatigued from seeing all the different options. They kind of stress me out a little bit because, I really wanted to buy a Midori Habino again for the third time. But I, thinking about it, I also know that it didn't work for me last year. It didn't work for me the year before last. So trying to basically persuade myself why I shouldn't get the book has been night and day. I'll share some things that I've kind of purchased to kind of help combat that. Oh, excuse me. Also, I just found that just planning in a notebook was just easier. And not to say that I don't love any of the things that I've purchased, like the Clever Fox and things like that. Oh, I definitely love the Clever Fox. I think that they have a wide range of different things that meet all kinds of different needs. But right now, I just wanted something that, sparks creativity, allows me to just go with the flow of things without really having a set layout and all that good stuff. So this is my bullet journal. This is what I've been using pretty religiously. This book only has 205 pages. I'm not really counting the last couple of pages because I'm gonna use those for ink swatches and things like that. But as you can see, I basically have gotten towards the middle of the book. I'm basically on page 84. And so I know that with the way that I'm using this book, the way that I have been using this book, it will not make it. I'm using quite a bit of pages, what feels like every week, because I don't know, I have a very opinionated mind, and I like to write a lot. I like to get a lot of things out of my head and onto paper. So a bullet journal was more so the best option that I could see myself going towards. And so that basically stemmed why I feel the way that I feel. But I purchased this particular bullet journal because, one, I was curious about the Leuchtturm bullet journal line. Two, I've never used the thicker Leuchtturm paper. This is 120 GSM. This feels very different from the 120 GSM from the Clever Fox, which also again has 120 GSM. This paper is coated and performs very much, or not very much, but performs a whole lot better than that of the Clever Fox. Don't get me wrong, the Clever Fox has amazing paper too, but I just noticed that some of my markers tend to not do so well because they're really wet. Whereas, also just to note, because I don't think that the Clever Fox paper is coated, but this paper it handles a lot of things very well, and so I really enjoy using this. I will say that I've started to go down the rabbit hole as to what options are out there, and I'll definitely share some of those options that I've found with you guys today in this video. I do have something else that is coming, and I don't have it here today, otherwise I'd be sharing that too, but I'm gonna wait to share that one with you all in another video, because this one I'm really excited about. And then there's one other thing that I purchased that I also want to share that will be in another video. So you could probably expect 2 more videos from me after this. They just probably won't be back to back like this will go up and then maybe another one will go up in like a week or two, and then so on. But nonetheless, I really enjoy this. I really enjoy the Leuchtturm. I think this is a really good book, and I don't think that it will last long with the way that I'm using it. So I wanted to basically talk about, you know, like how I've been using this book and share some of the things that I'm considering once this is done. So no lie, using a bullet journal is probably like if you're someone who's feeling like fatigue or planner FOMO or whatever the case may be, you're stressed out from whatever you're using. I think a bullet journal or just moving into a notebook in general is probably like the best option for you, because it's a blank slate for one, and there's just so many ways you can use it without the guilt, without the stress. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something extravagant. It doesn't have to be a Stalogy, an Anami, a Leuchtturm, a Moleskine, nothing like that. It can just be something simple that you picked up from Walmart or Target or what have you, and you can use that book and then see how you feel like as you use it and when you finish it. I think that is the goal for me, is just to see how I feel. And so I've been getting pretty far in this book, and what I've noticed as I flip through all these pages is that I really just enjoy putting everything in here. My mind is very busy, so I like to capture thoughts, I like to capture memories, and I think having a notebook really solidifies, you know, like a lot of things for me. I think it's a great addition to my life. This is something that I see myself carrying a lot. I do carry it a lot. I throw it in my coach bag a lot. Yeah, it's just, this is something that I love. I love it. For me, it's a creative outlet, whether I want it to be decked out in stickers or as minimal as possible. It's a place of, you know, it's a judgment-free zone for me. And of course, I talked a little bit about this in my last like little flip, but of course, you know, since then I've added quite a bit of things. But it's just a place where I can basically just plan out my life according to what I need at the time in that particular phase of my life. And so this coming year, I chose to not purchase a bunch of dated planners. I was leaning towards a Hobonichi at one point. I was also leaning towards a Sterling Ink B6 Slim because I saw that she was coming out with a B6 Slim. I was leaning towards quite a few things. I only purchased one planner that I'm really excited about, but as far as everything else, I felt like this is the better option for me going into a bullet journal. So as you've noticed, there's quite a bit of different layouts here. For the most of it all, I'm a lister, so for me, just being able to write like a basic to-do list and have my notes all together is really important for me. And I think that if you are planning, you have to find like what's really important for you. I like making a list. I like checking things off. I like seeing, you know, all the things, my routines written out. I often forget things too, so I like to use my calendars to write, you know, reminders, like those big ticket reminders and monthly notes and things like that. So I utilize, you know, the space, the pages in my bullet journal a lot. I'm also becoming really appreciative of using, and I'm just telling you how a bullet journal is really working for me, and why, you know, the why I feel like it's working for me, and also how it may work for you if you're feeling the same way that I was feeling with planning. Like using my index, I know a lot of bullet journalers who have said they don't use their index as much or they don't reference this, but I think the index is a big part of it, because for me, in rings at least, you know, I would know all of my sections, but I would have written notes that I wouldn't be able to find. I would have to flip through and read through quite a bit of things. And I think just having like an index to like landmark a page is just like night and day, like mind-blowing to me and like revolutionary, because this wasn't something that I would have ever considered myself using before. And I'm really starting to grasp the concept of having an index and why an index is important. You know, to each his own, everyone doesn't use it, but I think for me, it works phenomenally. Also, you know, I really like the idea of planning as I go. I can really appreciate, you know, being able to use as many pages as I want to use. You know, a lot of times we just want to write, and I think that's the thing of why we get this obsession with needing to have so many pages, is because we think to ourselves that we want to use these back pages, the extra pages in the Hobonichi Mega or the Sterling Ink 520 notebooks, 520 page notebooks, the Moleskine, like the 18-month and all that stuff. Like, if you think about these bigger, thicker notebooks, I think primarily what it comes down to is that we just want to write. And so when you combine the two in a notebook like this, you feel a little bit at ease, because there's not a whole lot of, you know, structure. There's no structure. And so I can have August 24th, which is, this is a Saturday page. I can have this go from this page to this page to this page, and so as many pages as I want to allocate to this particular day, and then I can start another day. And I think that's the beauty of planning. And I think for me, it was just the turning point as to what I really like, what I really want. This is what I have been wanting in all of my planners, is basically the flexibility, the freedom to plan and do as I want to do, to change. Like, if I got bored with doing this, then I could change to something else. If I wanted to add a tracker, I could add a tracker. If I wanted to add something, you know, for the month, I could do that. And I don't know, it works for me. It really works for me. This past year, I've been trying different schedule formats. So I really learned how to do a chronodex. This is this current week, by the way. And like I was stating with the weeks, like if I want to change the weekly format from, you know, this kind of sticker, I could do that. I could draw it out. I don't particularly like drawing out my weeklies, but this is a simple little quick weekly layout that doesn't really take long at all. But like I said, I've been trying different tracking methods for like the schedule, and I really learned how to do a spiral decks this year, and I like the spiral decks. This just takes an enormous amount of time to do because I don't have a stencil. I don't have a stamp, I have a stencil. Someone asked me if I stamped this out. This is the stencil that I purchased. I can't really give you like a brand because I kind of just searched Amazon for like bullet journal stencils, and this is what, you know, like a pack of different assortments came up. But this is what I use to basically do these like little spiral decks. Is I draw it out with using the stencil, and then these little circles is what you would use essentially to make those little circles that are on, you know, this diagram. So essentially, if I can line it up, oh, it's backwards. Essentially, it will look like that. So you use this part and then you flip to the circles to put all the circles in. This can take a lot of time to do, and especially when you're coloring and stuff. You don't necessarily have to have all these special colors, but I think for a visual standpoint, it definitely helps to have all the colors so you can see the different areas, times, and things like that. But you know, like in a regular planner, like in a Hobonichi, I don't know, to me it just seems like I have a way better system when it's something that I've curated for myself versus something that has been followed or that I'm following. I also get a lot more inspiration when I'm using things that don't necessarily have a layout to follow. I can figure out what my needs are. I can identify what each need for each week is a whole lot better than I would have been able to just using like a general like laid out planner with actual dates and a layout. You may hear my son. I don't know, I just like from week to week, I like the ability to change things up. I do like the Leuchtturm bullet journal. I was very curious about this book. I like the Leuchtturm planners a lot, so not surprising to me. But I've never used like the actual notebook, like the actual bullet journal notebook. I've used Pocket before. I've used Pocket, the A6 Pocket notebook in the past. And that was okay, but I actually really enjoy using their bullet journal. I think Leuchtturm, I think there's not a lot of people who use Leuchtturm. I think it's mainly Moleskine that we see the most. But you know, they have a pretty consistent paper quality from my opinion, my standpoint. From the times that I've been using their products, their paper quality is pretty consistent. This paper is coated, it's 120 GSM, and it performs relatively well. So it actually performs really well. So I really like it. The book has 205 pages. And for me, when I was searching for my next bullet journal, because I honestly don't think that with the way that I'm using this book, how much I'm writing, that it will last that much longer. Like, I already see myself being on page 118 probably by the end of next week. So it doesn't feel like, you know, 200 pages is enough because of how I'm using the book and how many pages that I've been, you know, dedicating to each particular day, because I'm not just planning, I'm planning and journaling. And I think, like I said, I think again, you know, the way that I wanted to plan has worked out a whole lot better for me in a notebook versus having like these dated planners. I like having everything together. I think that was my problem, is that I wanted all these things together and I wanted this flexibility, but I could never figure out why a system wouldn't stick longer than a month or 2 months. I also used a bullet journal system, if you will, in Rings, and I think that, you know, that works wonderful. The whole problem that I had with that though is that I don't know, it's just the pages, I don't know, it's just I never could figure out the whole, it was just too much stuff that I wanted to add into the Rings. And I think that was the problem, is that I just had to get away from, you know, the things that have stressed me out. Like ring planners stress me out because there are literal inserts that you can buy and all of this stuff. And I was thinking about, you know, oh, I could add this insert and I can print this and I can do, like, I think I just had to get away from that and just go into something that was simple and just use simple like layouts that really only had the information that I wanted versus, oops, you hear my son, versus trying to make it work in something else. I was considering a lot of things, but like I said, ultimately at the end of the day, I just discovered that a bullet journal, planning in a simple notebook, was the easiest and the most productive way for me to go about life. Also, I like to use these notebooks as a memory keeping. Like I said, I've combined all of my tasks, I've combined my notes for each day about topics. I've also combined daily journaling, though I do have a journal. I've combined all of that into one book, and I think by doing that, it worked out so much better for me, because this is the book that I take with me. Grant, the size is A5. I still take this book. I think that the thinner books are just, I think when you don't have a cover and you have like this book is relatively thin, I think that it's easier to take with you. A lot of people might say it's cumbersome, and you might hear my son again. I think that it's cumbersome, I think that a lot of people think that it's cumbersome and that it you know, is too bulky and things like that. But I actually really like, you know, taking this notebook. I like dragging it from room to room. It's starting to pick up a little bit of wear, not super noticeable, but I mean, I can see it. Like there's scratches on here, there's like the paint is chipping like on the corners and things like that. Like I'm noticing some wear and tear on the book, which really just tells me and solidifies that I'm using it and I'm enjoying it. And like I said, I like putting things in it that just, they make sense. Like it just makes sense to have all the things that I want to keep together, whether that be like notes. Like this is notes that I found. I was doing some like bullet journal research on this particular day, so I took like these notes and then printed out these pictures. Like this is the kind of stuff that I want to keep together. And then like for archival purposes, it just makes a whole lot of sense to have, you know, all of this together. So when there's a particular book that I want to go back and reference and look through, I can archive it and label it how I want to label it. Like, I don't know, I found that it was a whole lot better to move into a bullet journal. Like I said, I've been trying spiral decks, and that has really worked for me. This week I've been actually trying, so like I said, I was taking inspiration from Pinterest, and I was printing out, and I'm still in the midst of putting the names of who the photos belong to. But I've been trying out a timeline here, which is just like an hourly timeline. So I did traditional timeline, which is basically like your schedule this way, and then I did like a half hours and stuff here, and then I've done the spiral decks, like I said, which basically is another scheduled timeline. And then I've been trying out like this timeline, which goes from 1 to 12, so 1 to 24, so I can see time this way. And I don't know which ones I like best. They all have some bit of, you know, drawing to do, which isn't too bad. But if I had to say that this is probably my favorite planning system to date, if you are a true OG and you've been watching me for quite some time, if you guys remember when I used to use an A5 700 page bullet journal, I have so many videos, and if you know, then you know that I was doing all my planning in there, all my note taking, and that probably was the most functional I've ever been in my life, outside of, you know, my home planner with disc. But that has probably been the most functional that I've been. And also any bullet journal video that I've had, if you look at how I've used it in the past, if you looked at how it chunked up over time, then you'll know, like, I have a niche in a notebook. It's just my happy place. It's what, you know, drives me to want to open it. I like flipping through these used pages. I like notebooks when they get character. I like being able to draw and tape in ephemera like this and flip through it over time. I like, you know, having something hard and robust like this to plan in. So yeah, it just works out for me. And of course, like I said, I've been using this to essentially document memories, but also a lot of important information. And all the important information that I want to keep, I've been using my index to index it off, so that way not only is it tabbed off and I can go back to it over time, but I can also quickly see it here and then figure out what page it is if I choose to, you know, do away with the tabs. Like this is some information about, you know, early voting and stuff for my home state. And so, you know, I've got this information taped in here so that I can go back and look at it. And, you know, it's just, the bullet journal has, I think my son is having a little bit of fun, which is why you might be picking up a lot of his little laughs and giggles. But like, I just think that the bullet journal is just such a great system to go into. So with that being said, what am I considering for next year and all of that stuff? So I told you guys I purchased one thing for the following year. If you follow me on Instagram, then you probably Oh my god, you probably already know what it is, but I'm going to have a full video talking about it because I want to share how I'm going to be using it. And yeah, that will give you some hint as to where my planning is moving towards. But I want to show you what I'm considering to use in the coming months and things like that, and what possibly could be any one of my bullet journals next once this one is finished. I'm also in my shop my stash era. I have quite a collection of blank journals and notebooks, and I'm at the point where I just want to use my stuff now. Like, I don't really desire to have anything new anymore. I have collected quite a bit of unique journals and planners, and so I'm in that era where I can literally shop my stash, and I've got notebooks to last me for years. So yeah, I'm gonna show you guys what I am considering to be my next bullet journal after this one is finished, and or show you guys what my next bullet journal could be. There's one other thing, like I said, which isn't here yet, and I want to share that one with you guys because I think it's kind of dope. But I'm going to show you the ones that I have now. And yeah, so when this bullet journal is finished, I have quite a bit of others. So my biggest issue with the Leuchtturm is that there's 205 pages, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to go with another Leuchtturm because there were, okay, like if I could pull this one back in frame for a second, there are a few things that I do kind of need, especially if I'm not going to be having a cover on here. So like the things that the things that I've been looking for in a bullet journal, since this is where I feel like I'm going, the direction that I'm going towards for my planning. So I definitely look for a book band. I need a book band. It's just something that I feel is necessary, especially if I'm going to be using this book without a cover. I definitely need a book band to keep it closed. That is important to me. The Clever Fox planner spoiled me with the pen holder. I know you can buy those pen holders for this. I have some of them packed away in Oklahoma that go around the book, but I don't have them here. I think that, you know, I have this clip here where I can clip a pen on here that has the little, you know, pen clip. So I have this like binder clip here so that I can do that, but I would really like a book that has like a little pen elastic band. I think that that's another thing that I'm considering when I'm purchasing my next journals and things like that. So those are just two things that I really care for, that I'm really looking for in a book. Also, a lot of pages because of the way that I plan, because of how I plan and all that stuff. It is important to me to have a good page count. I think the book that I found that isn't here yet, that I want to share with you guys, is one of the unique, because it had everything that I wanted, and so I can't wait to share that one with you all when I get it. But I think that the page count matters to me. Also, having a back pocket matters to me because I use those pockets to store like stencils, and of course my I call it a reference book, commonplace book if you will, but whatever, I use it to store that book. And really those are like the things that I look forward to when choosing my next bullet journal. So here are a couple of journals that I've found that kind of hit the mark. They might miss some of the things, but they definitely hit the mark in some other areas that I've considered. So for my next bullet journal that I was happy to come across was this dot grid journal from Vivid Scribbles. These two books are literally the same price. This one was $29. I think I paid $27 due to the fact that it was slightly on sale, and then this book I got from Barnes and Noble. I think it was exactly $30 with tax and stuff. They are roughly the same price. So yeah, this one comes in a box though. You can get these from Amazon though. When I checked on their last, they were not in stock, or they were releasing for August of 2025. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if they're coming out with new batches of notebooks. Whatever the case may be, this is what I came across. So like you just saw, it comes wrapped like this. It comes with like a plastic wrap and stuff, and then of course they've given me stickers. There's like four different like sticker sheets in here. It's not a review for all of that, but what I want to talk about is like the book in itself. So this is again like another dot grid journal that I've came across. So the Leuchtturm has really good paper, and I know that if I was going to look for a budget option, it wasn't going to have that same coated paper that Leuchtturm has. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to pay for another Leuchtturm because I really wanted to try a different book just to keep with not feeling FOMO. So I found this, which is a cloth version. It's got thicker paper. So this is 160 GSM, and I was able to find 160 GSM with 200 pages. And this is a linen cover, and it has a pen loop, so it checks off a lot of the things that I was looking for in my next bullet journal. It has the elastic pen loop that I wanted, the elastic band, which feels really tight, and then it has this back pocket, which again, something else that I was looking for. But it's bright white paper. So I really was intrigued by this bullet journal because it had a index or a key, something similar to like the Leuchtturm. So it has a key and an index. But not only that, it's bright white. It's really bright white paper. The dots are a little bit darker, but it doesn't look like it would interfere with anything. The book itself is sewn. So I really like that it's like not glued or anything like that. So it's sew binding. It lays completely flat. So I really like that about this book too. Obviously you need to break the book down a little bit. So these are just like some of my non-negotiables. Like I need to have a book that lays flat. I'm looking for sewn binding versus glued, because what I noticed on the Leuchtturm is that even though it is sewn, I can also tell just based off the glue that there is glue. I don't know how the glue is really holding the book together, but I just noticed that there is glue, and I didn't really like this. This kind of scares me. If you watched my Sweet Freckled Designs videos when I was using that planner, I was talking about how the book was doing this and how the pages started to rip away. This kind of freaks me out. So I made it a choice to look for notebooks that didn't have, you know, part glue, part sewing. I don't think that this book will fall apart, but it just wasn't something that I wanted to take that chance, that risk. So this thankfully does not have that like binding issue. And yeah, in the back of the book, it has some pen test pages. So I didn't really have to take away from, you know, like the pages that are numbered. So really, they give you extra pages, the same amount of pages that are in the Leuchtturm, but those pages aren't counted as your actual dot grid pages, which I think is much better than the Leuchtturm. And then you have your, I want to say there are there's 3 ribbon bookmarks just like the Leuchtturm. So this really checked off a lot of, you know, my yeses, because again, like I was saying, I was looking for another journal that would kind of be a little bit better than the Leuchtturm. I'm going to do some pen test on this in the future, but this is just an option that I could try. And you can get them from Amazon. Like I said, I don't know if they're doing like a whole batch of new ones. It's just what I could find at the time, that they were releasing new ones. They still have some, but they were releasing like this collection again for like August of next year. So I don't know. Just go on there and check for yourself. That's the best answer I can give you. The second things that I found, which also checked off some boxes for me in terms of what I'm looking for in my next bullet journal, are these 2 notebooks here. So these notebooks are roughly more of the luxurious brand. And I say that because they are not the cheap notebooks. They are not the same price point as this and this. And I thought that this was a good, way to share that you can spend as little or as expensive as you want to go for a book. Like I said, the Leuchtturm was $29, and that other one that I found from Amazon was roughly $29. And the other one that isn't here yet that I will be sharing is another budget-friendly option, because I want to give you different mediums as to, how extravagant and how minimal you can go with this. I chose these ones because I know that Sterling Ink and quite a other couple brands have 400 pages, but these are the Odyssey notebooks. This was the only layout that I can find with this hardcover and elastic band. This has 400 pages of Tomoe river paper. 400 pages of the Tomoe river paper. It's the 68 GSM. They're A5, though they are slightly smaller than the Leuchtturm planner or the Leuchtturm notebooks. They're just slightly, I don't know if you can see that, but they're slightly shorter than the Leuchtturm books. I didn't compare the height or nothing on the other book from Amazon, but that one is slightly taller. So slightly smaller, but it checks off some of my big ticket items. Like, I definitely wanted this elastic band, and I really had to have this back pocket because, again, that's something that I look forward to storing my reference book. And it doesn't have like an index or a pen test page, but it's Tomoe river paper, and all the paper is blank. Now on their website, this was all that I could literally find with this particular style, this hardcover style. But they do have a 500 page option, which is grid, but they only seem to have these hardcovers available now only in blank. But for me, that works out because you can use stencils. You can use stencils to draw out, and plus blank doesn't interfere with anything. And if you really want to, you can always print out a page guide. Just find any type of format, whether that be grid, lined, or whatever. You can literally find a page guide like I used to do, and print it out and laminate it and just use it as your background if you really want to have some sort of guide. That's just an option, but I can use stencils and stuff like that. So I don't mind the blank paper at all. And if you want some inspiration, I do have bullet journal videos up where I use the blank Moleskine expanded notebooks, and I was bullet journaling in that. So I have a lot of inspiration on my channel if you want to see that. But I really like this. This is 400 pages, but what I like is that it's not super thick like 400 pages would be in 160. It's relatively thin. It's about the same, almost the same as the Leuchtturm. If you're seeing it, it's about the same. So I really appreciate it. It's still a pretty light notebook. I actually accidentally scratched it here, but I think that with 400 pages of blank Tomoe river paper with 2 bookmarks and a pocket in the back, and the fact that it has an elastic and it's hard bound, I think this is definitely a win-win-win, because it just looks like it will hold up to use over time, and I don't have to put a cover on it. So I got 2. I got this one and this one. I don't know what any of the names are for them, but I know it's like the astrology or the moon or whatever the case may be. I know it's got something to do with that. But like I said, I really like them a lot. I think with 400 pages you can do a whole lot of different stuff with this. So these are the bullet journals that I have purchased thus far that I am considering for next year. And when my Leuchtturm is done, I don't know which one I will go into. I'll have to do some hard decisions as to what life will look like in the next couple of months, and like kind of distinguish what I actually need. But I wanted to share my bullet journal and talk to you guys about like where my headspace is in terms of planning and what I'm thinking about using as far as planning as the year goes on and as we go into the new year, because I think that where my mindset is that I'm no longer interested in some of these dated planners or any of these planners with layouts. I think I'm leaning more towards just doing my own thing now in notebooks. So you guys, that is all that I have for you. Hopefully you got some inspiration from it. Hopefully I was able to share some new products with you. Like I said, I got some other stuff that I'm waiting on and that I can't wait to share with you. As time goes on, I will share different types of notebooks that are out there, because I did do a poll as to would you guys be interested in seeing some budget friendly options. Though these books here are not budget friendly, I think they're about $50 per book. I'm thinking about the use of them and the longevity of them. Like I can stay in this book longer than I would be with the Leuchtturm, and I can get a lot more stuff, you know, like on the page as far as mediums like watercolors, my markers. I'm thinking about the paper quality too. So again, I was comparing paper quality and use of book opposed to, you know, price when I purchased these. But I wanted to share, you know, I wanted to share a happy medium between budget friendly and, you know, more extravagant, and just kind of give you some ideas as to what's really out there. So if all of that kind of helped you out, I'm glad. But like I said, that's what I have for you guys today. I thank you guys so much for watching. Welcome to all of my new subscribers, and welcome back to all of my returning. And yeah, that's all I got for you. Bye, loves.